Now is the time. A time you'll look back on. A time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time. This moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome. Take over. The time is now.
Hello, hello, hello. We are back and we're almost fully loaded. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, oh, wrong one. 5.
Hey. Welcome back, Matt.
You know thanks, that's deliberate, Richie. Don't be shaking your head. You know what I'm like.
Well done, Daz. You got the wrong fucking button to hold. Good to see you.
All those buttons, that's why, man.
Haven't changed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, welcome. Listen, lads, great to see you. Those who follow my Twitter or Facebook have known I'm just back from holidays after a lovely week in the Canaries. But yeah, good to be back. I haven't been on for a while. Most of you boys know I took a little bit of time out. I wasn't really loving it and enjoying what I was doing. And I took some time out just to refresh the batteries. Had a week away with the wife. Bit of time off work and, yeah, a bit of downtime. So, yeah, I'm glad to be back. Great to see the four of you. And I know we got a cracking guest tonight. So, yeah, looking forward to it, boys. Great to be back.
Good to have you back.
Mark. Good to have you back. How are you, Pete? All good?
Yeah, just working.
Working still, working.
Who says that men can't multitask?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
fucking
all we do. All we do. Richie, how are you?
Plodding, mate, plodding.
Plodding. Okay. And Chris, you put the crayons away?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, I'm all good. I'm just like Martin. I've just got one eye on the Real Madrid game. It's going to be an interesting game tonight. I know a lot of Liverpool fans are hoping that Real Madrid sneak through, but I think City go through tonight. But yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. How about you, Daz? You all right?
To be fair, Benzema should have scored there.
Yeah, you should have. That.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I'm good, Chris. Yeah, full day's work, and then I cut the lawn after that, and now we're into this. So busy day. So yeah, look, without further ado, let's bring on our guest. But first of all, let's ask the question: did he ditch us? And because I know we did that burn him, right? See the link in there. See the link in. But and he's giving me fingers already. I promised I wouldn't do the Love Island thing. But no matter what color eyes you're looking through tonight. All that matters is that we're back together again. Here's Paul. Welcome back, Paul.
Evening.
I will say to Paul, I posted one picture on Twitter and he was the first one to respond, and all he said to me was twat. So that was nice. You were the first comment.
It was took the right way, of course.
Yeah,
I just said twat because you were lying in the sunshine. And
yeah, I was just happy you tweeted me back, mate. So yeah,
because it was just
offensive or not, I took it as it was. No, it was good. It was nice. It was actually really good to get a comment, and for me, it was good. So yeah, fair play to you, buddy. Good to have you back.
You too. You guys as well. Big things.
Yeah,
that's it. Big things is right.
But do we want to talk about that? Do we want to stop by talking about that?
Well, I'll explain what happened. Basically, obviously, a few months ago, we were going to do something together as the two channels, and the show that we did do was kind of a disaster for me because I fell up the stairs, I fell down the stairs, I broke my camera. It was just an all-round disaster. I was kind of, I went back to kind of what I knew and what I didn't want to take any risks and stuff at the time, and it was a stupid decision looking back. It was my decision. It was the wrong one. I've messaged you guys and explained the situation and apologized for that because we got your text, Paul. Yeah, we got a text. Yeah, it was a. Daz, if you continue that, I'll just a disgrace. I mean, with a side parting like that, mate, you may as well go bald. Anyway,
But you know what? To be fair, Paul,
need a haircut.
I came online after not being on for a while, and I said to Daz, "Why the fuck are you looking like Alan Partridge?"
yeah, you've got a point there. I mean, that's some debt. I mean, is that a bet, Daz?
It's not a bet, Paul. No, there's a plenty
Well, you
of
need
bets.
you need to look good, look in the mirror, mate, and have a word with yourself because I'm sure there's better
at least we
hairstyles out
now
there,
know where the 1980s Lego haircut came from.
Yeah, exactly. At least
Hey,
I've
hey,
been
hey.
brave enough, and Richie's been brave enough to shave it off. You know, when it's
Well,
time,
that's it.
Daz. When it's time, mate. But anyway,
Paul, the thing is,
Yeah.
though, Paul, you got to remember, we both looked daft with a Bobby Charlton comb over. Obviously,
Exactly.
living in Ireland, he one season on the other side of Galway, so he gets away with his Bobby Charlton comb
can you
over.
imagine in a
Get away.
convertible? God almighty.
Well,
Jesus Christ. He'd be like
No.
he's had an electric shock. Hey.
knowing me, knowing you.
Anyway, so I messaged
Paul,
you.
Paul, how do you think he got his nickname, Daz Shocks?
Well, yeah, he sticks his fingers in plugs just to see if his hair's still growing. Anyway, like I say, I emailed you guys and said, look, I apologize for what happened before. You guys took the apology and accepted it in good grace. Like I knew you would, to be honest, because you're that kind of guy. So I wanted to, everybody knows what's happened with some other guy, but I'm not going to go into that because I'm not basically spouting that out on, on air and stuff like that. Whatever's happened, and we all move on. Yeah, I thought, why not? It's a good opportunity. We all support the same team. We've got I think you guys are a good laugh. I've met most of you, apart from the two Irish guys, but it's he's a good lads basically, and I want to sort of collaborate with people that I can trust and I can have a good time with and put some good productions together. And as far as I'm concerned, you guys deserve a lot more subs than you've got. The shows that you put on and the guests you've had on, and that's genuine from me. That's 100% genuine. And I believe the collaboration with both channels would be good for both, because I think people like what I talk about. I have my ways. I'm not always, serious and stuff like that. I like to have a joke about as well. But I think that's why the channel's been so successful. I think people like that as well. And you guys, down for a good laugh as well. So I think as serious as football can get at times, we all need to laugh about it as well. And I think the two channels combined, I think will do wonderful things. I really do believe that.
Nice one. Cheers, Paul.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a bit of football. I'm going to start tonight, and you know the way we roll. We jump in with whatever comes up in the either in the chat or if anyone has a topic they want to bring up. But I want to start and say ladies first, and let's start. Both you, Paul, and Richie were at the game. So, what were your thoughts of the game, and what was the atmosphere like, and what did you make of it? Was that one of the first ladies' game you attended, or just your general thoughts?
Well, for me, it was the first one I'd ever attended. I'd never been up to see them play before, and I got a shock when I got into Newcastle because I took the little lad with us. I got quite a surprise how many fans were outside the stadium. It felt like a men's game because the burger vans were there. There was loads of people in the bar. There was lots of people walking around, and getting into the ground, I thought, maybe 10, 15,000 tops. It would be great. Some of these stand in a little part of the Gallagher. But then they said that the kickoff was delayed, and you could see the lines of people, coming in. They must have kept the Gallagher ticket booth open, and all the way down the side of the stadium, along the east stand, people were walking towards the Leazes, and it just got fuller and fuller. And I think when the lasses came out, they were overwhelmed because there wasn't that kind of crowd when they were doing the warm up, and they came out, and you could see the faces. It was just incredible. And the football, I got such a surprise. The football was really good. Some of the passing, the movement, excellent. And I will be going back to more ladies' games because it was great to watch.
Yeah, I've got to echo that. To be fair, Paul, the atmosphere was fantastic, and to see the amount of fans that turned up on Sunday was amazing. Was it 75,000 between both fixtures over the weekend as well? The ladies had more than the Burnley and Watford game at Vicarage Road, and I think it was Chris Waff and the Athletic said today that more than 2/3 of the Championship games on the Saturday were there on Sunday as well. So it goes to show that there's an interest in there as well, and they want this genuine push to do well and get them into the Super League as quickly as possible. And I think they need to do this more often. And, the move to Kingston Park, I think was it January or February they did that, Paul?
Something around then, yeah, because they were getting decent crowds there.
Yeah, and you know what? To show that you to have to delay a kickoff by 15 minutes to get more fans into the ground, I think it proves it was a success. And to be fair to the ladies when they came on, it was a good round of football. And to be fair, you've got to give the credit to them as well, because they've never faced played a game of football with that many fans before as well. And it can go the other way. You can be daunted by the amount, and feel like that pressure as well. That sometimes that Premier League players, Championship players, face week in, week out. So all credit to them. They came out, didn't let, they used the fans in the positive way, the right way, and put on a really good performance. And do you know what? They deserved everything they got for Sunday. It was a really, really good game.
It was a really good day out as well, though, wasn't it? There was just a nice feeling the whole afternoon. There was lots of people there who'd never been to St James's Park, because you could see when some of the kids were walking in, the chins would hit the floor, and looking at the big stands and how big the stadium was, and they all got behind the team, and it was brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and like I say, for the fourth tier of English women's football, I mean, that is, to get a crowd of over 22,000 it just says what we're like as supporters, though, and what the club's like now, where we are. Just brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I think the football, they're in the same division as Chester Street Town, which is just along the road from me. So, and they would love to get a couple of hundred along on a Sunday. Do you know what I mean? And to be fair, over the last few years, Chester Street Town have been a good town, and then they've played Newcastle a couple of times and beaten them. So to show that the way they've come on this year, just by having a bit more backing from the owners and stuff like that, is really good. And I think that Mida and Amanda have both said they're going to put, they're going to invest in the women's game, the women's side of it as well. They want to see them to do as well as the men's team in their own right as well. So it's always, onward and upward on that front. But sorry, Mark, you were going to say.
No, I was going to say, obviously I didn't watch the game. Obviously wasn't there. Would love to have been there. But I think a good shout needs to go out to Steve Beharall and all the guys and the girls that work at the foundation and stuff that support the women's team that, probably the last 3-4 seasons in particular during COVID could have easily gone bust and not had the focus. And that day last week would never, ever have happened. And I did see a picture of him in the crowd. So at some point we must get him back on. And I know, having spoken to him, I think he is going to try and get Becky Langley to come on with us as well. So hopefully we'll try and line that up. I'm going to talk to him soon. But I think a massive shout needs to go out to Steve and all the guys and girls that work in the foundation that help support the women's team and drag it along. And I think, with Amanda there, I think we'll see them go on to big things like the rest of the teams in amongst the black and white shirts. So, yeah, long may it last.
I think it can only go upwards now. I think Amanda's got her ideas to get this ladies team into the Super League, and I think the support will be behind it as well. I think what I mentioned on one of my shows was if they do build a whole new training facility, maybe they'll do something like they did, like Manchester City have done, and, build that stadium next to the, I know that one's next to the Etihad, but if they build it towards the training side of it and have a proper stadium for the ladies team and obviously the under-23s, etc., that can only boost them even further. So I think I'm fully behind the plans to what they've got to do for the whole club.
Yeah, I think that's the thing though, Paul, isn't it? It's that, if you look and you take the press side of it and you get it's the Saudis and the beheadings and the blood money and everything else. Take all that crap and push that to one side. What we're actually starting to see now is overall development of the entire club at every level, from ground to the kids, to the women's game, to the commercial, to, planning, to strategy, to the admin in the club that's dealing with season tickets. It's at every level. And that, to be fair, over the last 14 years has been left to a level of abuse where it hasn't. So it's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to see mass success on every single level of the ground. But again, as you said, if 3-4 years, you can see that women's game developed, more additions to the first team, a push for Europe, a new training ground, better commercial deals. Like that's all those things. But it all pins back to that first pillar, which was, as a group of fans, all we've ever wanted was hope.
Yeah.
And now we've got those investors that see that, get us as a set of fans, get the city, and they want to build on all of those foundations. And I don't see them failing, to be honest.
Well, let's not forget as well, the lasses from Manic played the part as well. I mean, what a day out for them it is as well. Something, they weren't up to Newcastle's standards. There was no doubt about that during the match. But for them, that's something they'll remember for the rest of their lives because, they played a big part in the day as well. And I was glad to see they did a sort of lap of honour as well at the end, just to get the thanks from all the Newcastle fans.
Yeah, that was good. It's good. It's good
And
at
they did
any
the
level
picture.
when you get that support.
They did the picture as well, the obligatory picture
Yeah,
now
they
in
did,
the.
did.
That was cool. Okay, let's move on from there, and I'm going to start with Pete here and ask the question. I'm going to put an all-in-one question here. Thoughts on the Liverpool game? Looking forward to the Man City game. How about Trippier and Wilson back in? Thoughts, Pete?
Where to start?
You were like a newsreader then, Pete, with your papers.
It's good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Look, the Liverpool game. If you could be pleased with the performance, I was pleased with the performance. I was disappointed with the result, and I was pleased with the performance for one reason. And like me and Chris talked about earlier on in the week, I actually think we went out and had a go at Liverpool. We didn't sit back on our 18-yard box like Everton did the week before. We pressed them high. We made them try and make mistakes. We got into them. We got at them. You know, there was a few kicks in there and a few pushes in there, but we let Liverpool know that we weren't just going to lie down and roll over like we have in previous games. The clear thing is that we had a lack of attacking quality, and that was just the big difference in the game. And they were the team that got the better of us through having better attacking quality. And it just came through. And I can't be mad at that. You look at where we were, you know, back in November, December to where we are now. You look at even the performance at Anfield compared to this one. We have made massive, massive progress. So I cannot be mad at that performance at the weekend. They gave everything they possibly could on the pitch. There you go. You just put it up there where we were and where we are right now. And we've got to be, we've got to be happy with that. So look, happy with performance from the lads. Disappointed with the result, lack of quality, which we all hope, and I think all six of us, are going to talk about a lot in the transfer window to come. So that's where we are with that point. We will have games against Liverpool later on down the line in the years to come where it won't be as easy as that, and actually we'll have games that we'll win. The Man City game, am I looking forward to it? No, I'm not. Man City are just a machine. They're a machine, just like Liverpool are a machine. But the difference is it's at the Etihad. We've got an awful record there. Not to say that we can't do anything, not to say we can't nick a goal, not to say we can't make it difficult. But look, I do fully expect there to be another defeat there. But again, it's another game where we're not expected to win, where Eddie Howe can look at a few more players and hopefully, going on to the next point, maybe start to bed in either or both of Trippier and Wilson if they're available. Because for me, and I said it before we came on the show, I think it's a perfect opportunity for either or both of Trippier and Wilson to get some minutes against Man City with a view to start in the last home game of the season at St James's Park against Arsenal, because that's the game, in my opinion, that I think we can get 3 points in, and I believe that we will.
Oh, good answer, Pete. It was a loaded question, but good answer. Chris, I'm going to go to you. Anything else you want to add to that comprehensive answer from Pete?
Do you know what? It's hard to follow on from Pete there, because I think Pete made some fantastic points. I mean, one thing I will add, and I know this is an expression everyone likes to use, but I'm certainly treating the City game as like a free hit. It's similar to how I treat the Liverpool game, if I'm honest. In me heart of hearts, when I saw that central midfield of Henderson, Milner, and Keita, I thought we could definitely do something. Like Pete, I think on reflection, I was pleased with the performance, and I thought that we did give it a good go. I suppose I was just a little bit disappointed in that we weren't maybe a bit more braver. But that's to come, and it's to be expected, because at the end of the day, we've been on a fantastic run and we're playing against one of the best teams in Europe. So we can't just open out and just go at them. I'm sure next season, if we add some quality additions, we might feel a bit more braver, and we might consider, attacking a bit more and trying to give that little bit more. And I felt, and I think the commentator said this as well, it was the attacking three. When you compared Liverpool's attacking three to our attacking three, and then you saw the substitutions, the golfing class was there, wasn't it? But it was definitely not a performance that we can be ashamed of or anything. I thought to keep Liverpool down to a 1-0 win was really, really impressive. And as I say, the more I reflected on it, the more I thought, yeah, it's probably but there's definitely positives to take from the game. In terms of Man City, yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But again, I'll use that word, the free hit. I just think it is an opportunity to go and test ourselves against the best. And maybe we'll have learned some lessons from last week. So in a way, it could be good that we've got them back to back, because I'm assuming we're going to have to approach the City game quite similar to how we approached the Liverpool game. But maybe we will be that little bit more braver, because the nicest thing is, lads, at the end of the day, whether we win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter, because we've managed to stay in the league this season. So the objective's been met. So for me, even if we lost like 3 or 4-0, I wouldn't like it. But if we could take any positives out of it, or at least try, some new methods or new players, and see whether they can have a run in the team, that would be really good in my opinion. And the last thing I'll say on Wilson and Trippier is, I think I'm expecting one of them to be on the bench, I think, and I think we may see a small cameo from them. But like we've already said, I wouldn't rush them back. We don't need to rush them back anymore. If we don't see them, it wouldn't bother me, because I'd rather just make sure that they're 100% fit for next season, and make sure they have a full pre-season and there's no problems or niggly injuries that reoccur if we bring them back too soon, because let's be honest, we don't have to.
Cheers, Chris. And in my earpiece, I hear we have a question linked to the topic. Chris, it was you that told me this, so do you have that question?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I said that a while ago. Actually, we've kind of changed topic. But I will still ask it. So it was from Tom Lynch, and it was more directed at Richie and Paul, to be honest. But it was thoughts on the Athletic article talking about the awkwardness of NUFC women being backed by the new owners and women's rights in Saudi. Surely it's the sort of thing that encourages reforms. And I just wanted. I mean, obviously, it's open to everybody, but
I think, and I've said this all along since the takeover, people go on about, obviously, the regime in Saudi and things like that, but I've always said all along, maybe they could learn something from us and being part of our football club, of how we live our lives and things like that. I don't think, it's appropriate for us to talk about laws in other countries, because that's their laws and we have no say in that. But I can only see positives from it, that things may grow in the future as the Saudis will see how we live our lives. Maybe things will change, maybe they won't. We have to be positive about it. But at the end of the day, politics is something that I'm no good at. I've never studied, don't want to talk about it, to be honest, because I don't know anything about it. I just want to concentrate on the football and look forward to what the new owners are going to do with my football club, to be honest. And then whatever the politicians decide behind the scenes is up to them. But I just hope maybe everybody can learn about each other's culture while they're in charge of the football club, and that's a positive for me.
Just to add on, just in case, did you want to say anything, Rich?
No. I was just going to literally reiterate what Paul had said. You know what I mean? Anything that can come from there's been all these sports washing and stuff like that with the reason for the takeover and stuff like that, and you know what I mean. If any positive reforms come out of this, this takeover. And you can look at like other ones as well, with other countries and other teams and stuff as well. Any positive change in those countries is a blessing, really. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, as Paul said, it's not for us to tell them what they have to change the laws and stuff, but hopefully we can have an impact on them, that they can possibly, ease them or change them completely or whatever. But obviously, as Paul also said, we're not politicians. We don't think we know all these things as well. It's it's a very difficult topic, and a lot of people don't like to comment on it because they might be quoted wrong or whatever. But yeah, that's just basically how I feel on it, Pete. But go on, what you want to say? Sorry.
I was going to say, if for anyone that knows me, or there's loads of people in the chat as well, over the weeks and months, know that I follow wrestling, and you only have to look at the WWE and their partnership over the last 2 or 3 years with Saudi Arabia, and they hold events in Jeddah, and they do it at least once or twice a year. Now, when they first had a show over there, they didn't have any women wrestlers on at all. The second show, for the first time ever, there was 2 women that wrestled in Saudi Arabia. They had to cover up because if you watch WWE, the women can be quite glamorous, makeup, and not wearing too much, but they covered up. But they were
wouldn't know, mate.
But that's more down to religion, though, isn't it? Than any sort of women's rights and things like that. That's their religion, though, isn't it? So it's a different thing.
Women be involved in a physical activity,
that's positive. Yeah.
That was the positive, is that actually they switched gears to allow women to do what they did in America to be able to do it in Saudi Arabia. For a lot of the young girls that are growing up watching wrestling in Saudi Arabia, it gave them the opportunity to see that live. And if they can do that with wrestling, and this is the point that I'm making, if they can do that with wrestling and make those changes once or twice a year with big events that they do there, with a football club that they're attached to, or the PIF are attached to, certainly, surely we're going to see those changes. And this is just one little step to lots and lots of changes that I see as making in the years to come, without a doubt.
Yeah, but the other side of that, Pete, is this also, to a degree, and I would use, say, the Northern Ireland situation similarly, and I don't want to get into huge, difficulty trying to get this comment out. But is it not the same? In a way, it's a generational thing, and is it not the same in Saudi that if I look at and both myself and Daz live in Ireland, everybody knows what went on historically, which we won't get into, but younger people are coming through, generations are changing, and attitudes are changing, times are changing. So, would that not be a similar situation in Saudi or Kuwait or China or Iran or in any other country where there's issues with whatever rights, be it gay, be it, prisoners of war, be it, whatever happens to be, Russia against fucking, Ukraine. Generations, as they come through the ranks, my generation thinks differently than my dad's generation thought. My kids will be different because they'll have their views, but they'll also understand what my views were. So surely in Saudi, those new generations are bringing different thoughts, different ideas, more westernized. Yes, they've got their rules. Paul made a really good point. That's the rules. That's the religion. If you go to Saudi, you go to Kuwait, you break a law, the same as in the UK or anywhere else, you get punished. That's the law. But just because theirs is you need to dress slightly differently, and ours is you can wear a pair of jocks walking down the front of Blackpool Pier, it doesn't. Do you know what I'm trying to get to?
Yeah.
Generationally, it has to change. And I think the WWE and the point that Paul made and some of the other stuff, all those attitudes will gradually, you would like to think, would soften. And I think women's football, clubs being bought out, different bits and pieces. Yes, absolutely. Do we want to get into the politics? I don't want to know what the government does with people that don't do whatever. I'm not into that. I know nothing about that shit. But what I do know is that generations change and thought process changes, and that people have a different view on things. So will that soften in the next 5 to 10 years? You would like to think so, but we're not in control of that. The people who are in that country are in control of that. We're in control of enjoying the sport, enjoying our football, having that hope and everything else. So a lot of that goes back to the unfair comments we get in press comments, like we did at the game at Chelsea, where Eddie was bombarded with the ownership argument and everything else. It's a load of bollocks. It's irrelevant. He can't change any of that. The owners are the owners. What's he going to do? Slag them off? So it's nonsense. But hopefully generations change, and things can unite and get better. I think it will. All the things that we're doing make a difference in my view.
The one thing I'll just add on to that, because I know we've got loads of football stuff to talk about, is that I don't know the percentage of it, but I know it's high. The amount or the population of under 30s in Saudi Arabia is incredibly high. So therefore, those that are seeing all these changes across the world, they're going to be in a position, like you just said, with the generational change, Martin, in the next 10, 15 years' time, they're going to be the ones making the decisions effectively for their country. So if they're in that position, they're seeing that change now, over that next 10 or 15 years, they're going to be the ones ultimately making the actual changes in Saudi Arabia. And, hopefully during that 15-year period, we're lifting a number of trophies.
Exactly.
Guys, just before we move on to the next topic, I just want to follow up, because Brian Minto's actually put a good little sub question on regards to that. What would happen if one of our players came out what do you think the feedback would be like in Saudi and stuff there? It's another obviously relevant topic.
Yeah,
I think that the Saudis, the same as we have to respect their laws, they have to respect ours. It's a two-way street. So, I'm sure at sort of whatever level it's at, if one of our players came out, then that's it. They wouldn't be pushed out, in my opinion, because
No.
they have to. Now, you're talking about then, if our players ever went to Saudi, and obviously they then know that we have a gay player. I don't think it makes much difference, to be honest. I think that's the kind of learning curve that maybe we should be looking out for, because I think they would respect our laws just like we'd respect theirs. They seem like, from what I've seen of the people that run our club, they're decent people. So, when it comes to the football, but I'm not going to comment on what goes on politically, but football-wise, they look like decent people. So I don't think there'd be much of a change.
No, good question, Richie. Good question to tie in. I haven't answered because I'm too busy typing my letter to loaded HR, the abuse I faced at the start of the show. But I'll move on.
You know that's going to come back. Return the fucking sender, right?
Oh, by the way, lads. Mrs. Toon Review's in the house. If you wouldn't mind giving her a wave.
This is Toon Review. Welcome to Loaded.
Yeah, Susan's watching.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Become a member. It's
$1.99 per month.
Nice, lads. Nice.
Little plug in there.
Professionalism. Right.
That was smooth.
Take notes, Paul.
Smooth.
Take notes. Let's also link in to now. I'm going to target Paul and Martin for this one because Paul is this is the first headline show of this, and Martin, you've been Dawson for the last month, so you didn't get to comment on this. So let's go to talk about squad game, and I want to put the question to you guys. We sat down and we went through the squad and those on loan and not in the 25-man squad, etc. And we came up with a list of players that we definitely want sold. There was an option on whether we'd pick one or the other in another category, and then there was a category. What was it? Who we send out on loan. So I want to I'll put this up on the screen. You might be able to read it, but I'll read it out if you can't. So maybe I'll go through each one and I'll ask you as well if there's anyone else you would add to this. So to sell, we said Kieran Clark. You agree? Grand, easy one. Dummett, Paul Dummett.
Yes.
Actually, there's been talk of Paul Dummett getting.
I think he's about to sign a year's extension.
I don't get that at all. But look,
neither do I.
I don't get the sentiment. I think we can't now be a club that bargains on sentiment. Just fucking move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Matt Ritchie.
Yep. Good luck.
Yep.
It'll be at Bournemouth. It'll be at Bournemouth. It'll probably be Bournemouth.
Yeah.
We should have done this first show with Martin, shouldn't we? Because Martin's just like, yep, see ya.
Yeah,
we were like going into big detail.
No sentiment.
Just give Martin the whole squad.
Carry on, yeah. I'm cutthroat, man, tell you.
Oh, I know you.
I walk the plank.
He's a bad in Shinola.
Yeah, go. Next, who else?
Jeff Hendrick.
Oh
no, keep him.
I'm a big fan of the legend that is Jeff Hendrick.
Yeah.
You know what? I just for his performance at Wolves earlier in the season. Yeah,
all of them, yeah.
But no, let's be serious. He's terrible.
No,
I think he should cut his hair though and auction it for the food bank. Just stay in there, Jeff. You're watching.
Sorry, I got distracted.
How has Martin not been taken to court by someone yet?
we've got footage. It's just people haven't seen that.
The UK have no extraction laws over here, Paul. I'm safe.
Good point.
Yeah, he just gets blocked. That's all.
Paul. He hasn't been on sabbatical, mate.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
I've been on the run
in Mexico.
That's where I got the tan from.
I'm not as red as you, mate. I wouldn't worry.
We must say as well that we thank anyone that we're saying goodbye to here as well. We thank them for their service to Newcastle. So just while we're being a bit cruel, Dwight Gale.
100%.
Good luck. Off to West Brom.
Chip in, lads, as well if you've changed your mind since.
Did
by the way.
Did we ever go back on the story of the mole?
No.
And can we?
Can we?
We can.
Do we know who the mole is?
We do, yeah.
Ooh.
Can we talk about that very quickly?
Hang on, you should have a big breaking news sign going across the screen.
Hang on.
Give us a
Now somebody, if I do this story now, somebody keeps looking for me.
Hey.
Yeah.
How long are you going to wait for this
I'll
time,
break
Martin?
it. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, look, it's defamation. Allegedly. Forget that in. So yeah, we obviously there was some issues between Bruce and there was a bust up on the pitch and yada yada yada. A lot of talk about who was in the camp, who wasn't in the camp, who was talking, who wasn't talking. But yeah, we were reliably informed that the person that got in the middle of it and was the one that was talking was Dwight Gale, allegedly.
Oh,
He was the mole. So there you go. A little bit of inside.
Kind of looks like one as well, doesn't he?
He does. He's got that head, to be fair. It's like he's just come, it's like he's just burrowed out of a hole and gone, where the fuck am I?
Yeah.
He's going to look back at this now, you know.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. If I'm not on for the next month, you know why, kids.
Evening, Dwight.
Evening, Dwight, allegedly. Or anyway, as long as you get allegedly and you're safe.
Dwight Gale, body of a kangaroo, head of a pea.
Yeah, that's it.
Because he's a unit. He is a unit, to be fair.
Remember when he got his 2 front teeth smashed out for being a dick? That was class. He had to go and get the old grill fixed. Fucking brilliant. Anyway,
so is that why he doesn't get many minutes?
Yeah, I can't see him linking up with I can't see him linking up with Steve Bruce next season.
Yeah.
Crack on, Daz. Next.
As Loaded HQ becomes a foursome.
Yeah.
Been like that for the last 6 weeks.
Isaac Hayden, and I love Isaac Hayden, but he's a great servant, and he stayed with us for a while as well when he wanted to go, but we put him in the to sell column.
I'd be disappointed to see him go, to be honest, but I know he's not going to get a game next year. Not when we bring in some more. I mean, if Paqueta comes in or someone of that standard, he's got literally no chance. He could still do a job in I would think, a lower Premier League team for me, whether he goes back to London. But listen, he's been the model professional for us, and he's one player that, you know, he goes with handshakes from all the fans as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't go with any malice. He could have gone back to London a few years ago, remember, when he said he was homesick and stuff.
Absolutely. I think the fact that he stayed loyal when he had an opportunity to jump ship speaks volumes to me. So sad to see him go, but look, I think he's not going to get his game, so go and get some game.
Was I the only one who actually said I would have kept him, but it was only for an extra 12 months, just because of the versatility of all the positions he can play, because he can play full back, he can play centre back. It's just someone that you can have any 25 man as a cover player mainly. You know, as Paul said, he isn't going to be starting, you know, with the people that are looking at bringing in, but is he ideal to have as a squad player in that 25 man? English as well, so bear that in mind as well, where you've got to have your quota on that front. And as I said, he can play the various few positions, so would go with open arms.
You know what I think? I think with Isaac Hayden, though, I think this injury he's had, I think is going to play a part, because I don't think with the injury, is it twice now he's injured the same? Is it the same knee he's injured twice? Yeah. You know, that kind of doesn't matter how many.
Once you get them, you struggle to come back from them. Paul,
exactly, and he's already looked short of what he was the first time he got injured. I didn't think he fully looked at the player he was. And certainly wasn't putting tackles in like he was. If you notice how edgy he was going into tackles, and now, I don't know. I could see him going to Bournemouth, to be honest. Funny enough.
As well.
He's offering to Brighton.
Bournemouth, somewhere posh on the south coast.
But do you think he can still do a job in the Prem, or would you see him going to a higher stature club in the Championship, maybe?
I can see him Prem. I can see him sort of a smaller team in the Premier League. Or top Championship, either.
Yeah,
either one,
I think he'd be better to go down a league, and I think he'd get more game time, and I think he'd probably be one of the much better mids in that league.
You'd probably see him at West Brom as well, like Richie.
Yeah, I think he'd get game in the Premier League, but I don't think it will be every weekend. And I think if he wants to play ball and get another 2 or 3 seasons out of it, I think he's going to need to drop a league.
Jeff's
There's
made
a
good
comment
point.
just come in about Fulham. That's
Yeah.
not a bad shout, you know. Fulham.
Fulham's not a bad shout. Yeah, back to London. Yeah.
Yes. Could be an option. But look, I think this is the time. If we got rid of him now, we'd be able to recoup a decent fee. We would certainly make on the 3 or 4 million we paid for him from Arsenal.
Arsenal, yeah.
Certainly get more than that. And you know, if that's the case, in order for us to get in a player like, you know, Paul said, a Paqueta or a Ward-Prowse that's been mooted, you take that all day long. Let's not beat around the bush. If you're upgrading in that level, you're going to take that and just say thanks for your service, surely.
Exactly. Let's move on. Let's go to Federico Fernandez is on our list as well to be sold, who hasn't really played this year.
He's got to go for me.
He's got to go as well. Yeah.
Well, it's not so much. I think he's a quality defender, but that was close.
That was close.
Something has clearly gone on behind the scenes with Fernandez that nobody is willing to talk about, and I can't be unconvinced of that. I just think, you know, he came on in that Norwich game and was absolutely superb, and he's never been seen since. Now, I know he's been injured some of the time, but other time he hasn't. So I can't be convinced that something hasn't gone on behind the scenes with him, because it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it will come out eventually, probably when he's left the club and he's long retired or whatever it is. But something for me's gone on. As a quality defender like that, not getting game time, I don't get it.
Martin will probably break it in fairness, Paul.
Yep,
that's true. Yeah.
No, I don't know about that one.
Rightio. And Martin, you're aligned as well. You're getting rid of Fernandez.
Yeah, look, I think if you were still in the Mike Ashley era, you'd be saying no, keep a hold of him because we know we're not going to get investment. But I think we're going into a different level. So I think we can afford to look at players the next level up, not necessarily going straight from where we are to a Liverpool status. But I think we can definitely be aiming and looking at players that are at that further up the league type of player, like as Pete said. James Ward-Prowse, I'd take him in a heartbeat, in an absolute heartbeat.
I think.
Mark, can I ask you? Sorry, go on, mate.
No, all I was going to say is it just goes into a bit like we were talking about over the January transfer window about James Tarkowski's available on a free this summer. Is he an upgrade on Fernandez? Is he an upgrade on Lascelles? Of course he is. He's an England international at the end of the day, and he's for free.
Ooh, you know what I mean? Don't agree, guys. I'm not a fan of Tarkowski, but that's just my opinion. I just think he's a bit of a. I think there's better out there that we can get, to be honest.
I'd rather have Connor Cody, to be honest.
Nice shout, Martin. Martin, you know what? You go up in my estimations every single day, man. You know, that is just a wonderful shout.
You're in the wrong show, Martin.
People on my show don't realise. I mean, I've never mentioned Connor Cody much on my channel. However, I think he's much better than Tarkowski. Listen, Tarkowski's he's an okay defender, but when I watched him when he played up here, and he was terrible. And he's had a few little dodgy things going on this season. So I don't know. I mean, again, this is the beauty of football, isn't it? It's all about what opinions on players, and some people think, well, what's this?
Mate, Paul, we love.
You have to
watch the squad game. That's the squad game.
Yeah.
Chris, you gave birth to that, Chris. Talk him through it. Come on,
mate. I was saying, where at the Tottenham game, and to be fair, he does it all the time. But at the Tottenham game, I said there's no better sight than seeing Fabian Schär running over to the away fans and just giving it that. I'd love it, and then he just goes, it's great. So yeah, we started, didn't we, Pete, when we were going through the squad game? When we were all in agreement, we all said we'll just do that when we were talking about players. So we were all just asking for that. Fabian Schär, man.
No, he did this. Everyone.
Hey, I tell you what, though, isn't he just a handsome man? I mean, I'm not that way inclined, but he is one handsome bugger. And I see what the women are all about, you know what I mean? Sorry, Susan. But you know what it is? I think I really would love to see Connor Cody or Botman or Carlos, whoever it is, ahead of Tarkowski, to be honest. But again, that's just my opinion.
Mark, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah,
sorry, Pete.
Go for it, Chris. Go for it.
Dying to ask him. And we were discussing this on Squad Game, Mart. But I'm asking you this because this is kind of how I feel. But given the fact that if we keep Lascelles, it'll probably be for another 12 months, maybe 18 months. So, but that's what we've been saying. Would you rather keep Jamal Lascelles for 12 months, knowing it was 12 months, or Federico Fernandez?
Fernandez.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, I
Listen,
agree.
Jamal Lascelles has had his moments, but overall, he's fucking shit. End of.
You know
He's
what?
been woeful for 2 seasons. We've had to stick with him because of where we are. I would rather have any fucker in centre defence than him. If he wants to go off and put his basketball vest on and go and play for the Newcastle Eagles, crack on, son. Go and play your basketball. Listen, great servant when we needed him. Did a job in the championship. But no, I'm sorry. And the biggest thing for me, which you all know, even Paul knows, my biggest complaint about Lascelles has been his leadership. Yeah. He has never been a captain. I've seen more from Trippier and Dan Burn in 10 games than I've seen from Lascelles in the last 2 seasons. So sorry, no, gone. In actual fact, don't even sell him. Just let him drift away. Put him on a little ferry down the Tyne, and then on the ferry between North Shields and South Shields, and then on the boat to Denmark or fucking somewhere else. Good luck.
So you're a fan, Martin?
I am, yeah. Liverpool, yeah.
No, the back of the jersey there. Not his captain.
Christ alive.
You know what? Going back to the centre-back conversation, I actually agree with Richie, to be fair, about the Tarkowski on a free. And I know, Paul, you're not the biggest fan, and I know you and Martin prefer Connor Cody. And Connor Cody's a good centre-back. But think about it, and I'm just thinking what the owners might be thinking in the summer when things are coming together, is that would you take getting someone like Tarkowski on a free to allow you to spend more on a striker or an attacking midfielder that's going to get the goals and the assists in the other end of the pitch?
I would take Tarkowski on a free if I could get a really good CDM.
Okay. CDM, okay.
And let's be honest, if you're bringing in James Tarkowski, if you're bringing in James Tarkowski, sorry, mate, I was just going to say, if you're bringing in James Tarkowski on a free as well, don't forget it will be to the place, the likes of maybe Dummett, Clark, if we let Fernandez or Lascelles go. I was arguing he's an upgrade on those players. Now, I take your point, Paul. He's not the dream centre-back that, we're all wishing and hoping for. But he is an improvement probably on our understudies. I wouldn't want him in the starting 11 every week next year, don't get me wrong.
No, but if you could rotate him round and you could flip between Shaw and Tarkowski alongside Dan Burn.
Yeah, I think it's because of the form of Burn and Share. I think if you put it like that, get him in on a free, which would then free up more funds to get either, as Martin says, a midfielder or a striker. That's not a bad shout if you look at it that way. So yeah, I would do that because obviously Tarkowski's not going to play every game, is he? So the question is, would Tarkowski come if he knew he wasn't going to be first on the team sheet, etc., at his stage in his career, or would he understand that because of his age that maybe he's no longer number one? It's an interesting point.
He's 29. His last big contract. His last big contract. He'll come for the payday as well. He'll sit on the bench if he needs to. So, and there'll be injuries. He'll get game time. There'll be cup run as well.
Cup runs, exactly. Yeah.
So
you guys are good at spinning it. You guys are good.
If you took him in and you did bring in a Ward Prowse, like Ward Prowse, suppose he is valued at 75 million, right? I wouldn't be paying anywhere near that for him, right?
Jesus,
I don't think he's a 75 million player. But if you had someone like a Tarkowski that gives you that bit extra, as Pete said, and you could get Ward Prowse, say, for 55 to 60, knowing that Eddie Howe will likely want to try and keep pressing with that 4-3-3, as we said, Pete, before we came on air, it lets you sit Ward Prowse in the middle of that 3 if you wanted to, or if you're not and you've got a team that's coming at you on the counter, you can drop him back in front of that 4 and play with a 2 and go with 2 wide and 1 up front. So it does give you different options if you could get somebody like a Ward Prowse in. But if not, then you're looking at somebody else. Is it a Calvin Phillips? Is it whoever else? Like, what kind of money is that? If Leeds go down, would you get a hold of Phillips? So there's just different options. But like if you look at what we've currently got as a backup to Shaw, would you take Tarkowski on a free? Absolutely. I prefer Cody, but I'd take Tarkowski on a free. Why not?
Yeah, I think we'll.
Sorry, go.
Sorry, all I was going to say with regards to Tarkowski, I think we'll get him in on a free, but I don't think he'll also be the only centre half we bring in either. I do still think we'll bring another one. We need to cover. But the thing is with Tarkowski is what Martin's just saying there. If you go 3 at the back, you've got Shah who can play as a right centre back. You can have Dan Burn that plays as a left centre back, and you can play Tarkowski as the middle as well. So as once we said, you've got that flexibility again. But also, just going on that CDM that you were saying there, and this is a guy that we touched on in the January transfer window a lot, and we were linked with, is Kamara from Marseille. He's on a free in the summer. We touched on him. We talked about a lot about him coming to Newcastle, and Man United were linked with him as well. But obviously, they've got a new manager coming in, Ten Hag. Is he the sort of player that he likes? That's another person that would enhance our midfield. A French international as a CDM as well, that doesn't cost money and allows us to strengthen the squad elsewhere.
I think we're going to sign. Listen, I think we're going to do. Everybody's talking about us having millions of pounds to spend, but I did a 3-series show, a 3-show series, whatever you want to call it, with Stato about the free transfers, and there's a hell of a lot of talent out there. And I've never known a free transfer market like this coming summer. It is incredible. So you look, we might not have to, if we go for a lot of the free signings, we may not have to spend a lot of money. We can offer these players decent signing on fees in order to cut the wages down. So, that's all about how they negotiate the deals and sell the club to these players. But if you look who's available on the free transfer market, there is some talent there that we could literally change the whole squad up, and it will be incredible to see. And then spend a little bit of money on, on a striker or whatever it may be, one of those marquee signings that people keep talking about.
You made a really good point, Paul. And this is the thing that, Newcastle fans in general, certainly on social media, I think it was when Luke Edwards put the article out about we've only got 80 million to spend in the summer, and the people were up in arms.
Plus,
but and it was a case of, interestingly, on True Faith, he was on there this week, and he's now changed that potentially with sell-ons it could be up to 120 million. So he's completely thrashed out his own article already. However, again. However, we don't. It goes back to the point, and we've talked about these signings. We've talked about certain signings that we could go for, where we could genuinely have a good chance of getting them. We haven't even talked about Lingard yet. We've got players that we could sign that doesn't cost a lot of money, and though we know they would instantly improve our team, significantly improve our team, even if it's for a couple of years in that transition. Then we get the sponsors in the next year. Then we improve everything in the infrastructure of the team. And then next summer, or even in January next year, 2023, we could go hard on one or two players and really go for it. There's no need to go and spend 120 million when you can get a player of equal quality on the free, but also there's a hell of a lot of players with 1 year left on their contract. Yeah, clubs know that they've got no.
It's time to cash the chips in.
Exactly, and there's so many players.
But bringing those players in, Pete, as you said, not necessarily having to spend big, players in 1 year contracts left and so on. It's about going up in the levels. It's in stages. It's not about going from there to there. It's always about those steps. So again, if you can bring in 2 or 3 that improve the 2 or 3 that you're moving out, that's all we need. So you don't necessarily have to spend big. Me personally, I think you'll see one really good marquee signing, and I think you'll see some more support. So you'll see maybe a bit more Premiership, I would think, level players coming in. I think you'll see I would think the big money will be on a striker. I would be surprised.
Do the same as Man City, Martin. Man City did that, didn't they? They brought in some very good players around a marquee signing and built it up over a couple of years, and then look at them now. But I think if there's a way to do it, I think that's the perfect way: is follow their example and make sure you build a squad around that marquee signing. I mean, technically, we've
exactly.
Already got
That's that's what City did. They brought in Robinho, but they brought in Rocky Santa Cruz from Blackburn, played up front.
Yeah.
So it was exactly that.
Okay, while there's a bit of a break in play, because we haven't even got finished the sell section yet, I want to say, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. The bottom, the button even at the bottom right hand corner of your screen will allow you to subscribe. And there's 250 people in the chat, 253 even. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And as Michael did earlier, if you'd like to become a member, it's $1.99 a month. And you get put into our sponsor prize draws as well. So that's something to consider. Let's go back.
By the way, sorry, Daz.
Yeah.
If you're not also subscribed to Toon Review, get onto it as well.
Yes, thank you, Martin.
We're all here to support each other. It is a collaboration after all. I'm sure Paul will be giving us shout
at the top there. Just decided to just ignore my channel. It's fine, Daz. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, collaboration.
What am I rocking here behind me? Look who's behind me. Toon Review. What have I got in the description on the video?
You can't see anything behind you if you come over, mate. There's nothing there.
My lovely horse.
Here, I can sort that. Here,
yeah, listen, 241 in the chats. If you're not subscribed to either of the channels, get on it. We both produce good content, and you'll see a load more from both channels.
Exactly, a lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, exactly. So get on us.
So I've gone invisible for the rest of the show. That's an improvement. It's not happy with looking at me.
Well done.
So we'll get more subs now.
The subs have just shot up.
I
didn't say that, Daz. That was Richie. I said nothing.
So next one on the list
probably quite Richie.
Cardano. What are you doing, Cardano, lads?
Move him on.
He's got Richie. You can come back. I don't like looking at myself.
I'm Daz, by the way, Paul. Nice to meet you.
Oh shit!
Jesus.
Who's gonna buy? Real talk. Who's going to buy Cardano? We all want him gone. We all know he's not good enough. Who's going to buy him? It was only just over a year ago he signed a 5-year deal. Who's going to pay the transfer fee to get him out of the club unless we literally sell him for pennies just to get him away from the club?
I think the championship side would pay.
You'll see a few contracts that'll be mutually terminated, I think. Because I think there'll be some of them players, Pete, we all know we probably won't be able to move on. So I think you'll see by mutual agreement a couple of times over the summer. I'd be surprised if we didn't.
Yeah.
And the advantage you've got of doing that as well is obviously, let's say a player had 3 years left on his contract, and say the contract over the 3 years was worth, say, I don't know, 4 million. And we said, tell you what, we'll give you 2 million. Don't forget, it gives that player an advantage then when they sign for the new club, because they'll get a big signing on fee because they're getting them for free. So they certainly.
I think you'll see a good bit of that over the summer. I'd say.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's negotiations going on like that anyway at the minute. To be honest, behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
So we're all aligned on Cardano. So so this is the one now that I've actually changed my mind since we did the squad game. And so we grouped 4 players together. So we said Emil Kraft or Manquillo. Which of those would you sell and which one would you keep? At the time, it was kind of a split. I think Richie and myself were saying Kraft, and Pete and Chris were saying Manquillo. But Kraft upped his game since then. So what are you doing there? Are you getting rid of both of them? Are you keeping one of them? Or are you keeping?
I'd keep Kraft. 2 reasons. One is obviously his improvement, which has been fantastic. He's obviously learning under Eddie Howe, but also his versatility. Remember, if we did have to go 3 at the back, he can play as a right centre back as well. I think he's got more than Manquillo when it comes to position wise. It's hard though, because Manquillo has done I think he's had a great season and he's done nothing wrong. But obviously can't get back in the side at the minute. It's a tough one.
I want for you, Pete.
We need more than the 5 the way he drinks. Yeah, I think Paul. I think you're right. I think Manquillo's probably not done too much wrong. To be fair, he's been a really good servant. But Kraft has improved. I've really enjoyed watching him the last few games. So I think for me, probably given time served and with the hope that we get a bit more out of Kraft and as a bit of a backup, I'd probably keep Kraft and sell Manquillo.
Daz, just before you move on Sunday night, we talked about Kraft, didn't we? About how he acted when Diaz got switched over to the left-hand side. Yes, I don't know if anyone else watched the game as well, But did anybody else feel as though he downed tools once Diaz went across and just thought, I don't fancy this?
You mentioned that on the match reaction shows, didn't you, Rich?
Yeah.
I remember you talking about it, mate. I must admit, I'd have to watch it back. I didn't notice it at the time, but do you think it was? Do you think he was a bit downhearted? Would you say? Because Diaz
Well,
was just running it.
Diaz, like the first thing that happened with Diaz is Diaz went down the left-hand side and he literally slid in, and Diaz just literally skipped straight past him, left him on his arse, and just it seemed to me straight after that moment he just didn't fancy it. He went down, looked like he had cramp a couple of times, and then little straight afterwards again he was sitting on the boards of his arse again. And you thought, and you can see Eddie Howe looking, going right off Murphy, and he just called Murphy straight over. I just thought he just doesn't fancy it.
I didn't think it was a case that he didn't fancy it. I just thought he was fucked. If you've watched Kraft in any of these games recently, when he gets to 70 minutes, and to be fair, we've talked about the shithousery. We talk about it. You guys talk about the loaded chat as well, and we talk about it in general. Terrace's absolute legend. He from the 70th minute on, he's always going down, holding his leg, getting someone to get the cramp out.
I've noticed that.
We think sometimes, like, we talk about it and we say, "Oh, like the shithousery is coming in." You know, we're playing, blah blah blah. I genuinely think he's just fucked. I just think, and his mind, you got to then think his mindset, knowing a world-class player like Diaz that's fresh, just come on the pitch, that's lightly quick. He must be thinking to himself, like,
he'd been on the right hand side. He'd done a good job with Marnie on the left, and Diaz has been on the right, and then Salah came on and he got switched over. And that straight away, it could just be a coincidence because it was around the 7-minute mark, as you said, Pete. But it literally, Diaz just went past him. He's left the ball on. He went, "Fuck this." That's what it seemed like to me.
So, Richie, are you changing your mind?
I don't blame him.
Are you keeping Manquillo now?
No. I'm still staying my craft. I just think he needs to work on his last 20 minutes fitness level.
Cool. So, Martin, and is it Paul said Kraft? What do you think, Martin?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Time for Manquillo to move on. Great 7, but time to go.
Yeah.
Nice one. Then the other one that we had a debate about was Murphy or Miggy. And at the time, I laid down a challenge to Miggy. I said we should keep Murphy because he's on a crazy long contract. But to cash in on Miggy now while we can, I think he's like 28. But then Miggy upped his game, and then he was playing out of his skin, and he scored that goal. And then we rested him in the next game after that, of course, when he was on a run. But what are you doing there? Keeping Miggy or keeping Murphy or getting rid of both?
Get rid of both.
I'll actually agree.
Ooh.
Yeah. Miggy's
I don't think
one goal and one performance. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Paul. One goal and one performance and an odd bit of link-up play over a season is not good enough for me. So
yeah, I don't think he's built for the Premier League either. I mean, I just think I've always said that I think Miggy should be suited to maybe the French league or Spanish league where he gets that little bit more room. He seems to panic on the ball, but he doesn't do it for Paraguay. I don't know why. He's a very, very different player at international level. If you watch him, he's
got that free. He's got that free 10 role though for them. Do you know what I mean?
He's the main man, though, isn't he?
He's not really tied down.
Yeah. He's
Mark,
the main man
I was
for
going to say
Paraguay
exactly
as
the
well.
same thing. He's only ever played in his number 10 role for Paraguay. He's never ever played in his position for Newcastle.
He's never played on the right or anything. He plays just behind a 2 or off of a 1. And he does score those goals, but he's got good support in behind him in the mid. But he's got pretty much a free role, so I think it's a different. He's been asked to play a different game, and I don't think it suits him. So take the money. And
but again, you have to ask yourself, the players that we're going to be bringing in the summer, are they going to be better than Miggy? I would think so. So you have to look at it both. And Murphy, he's been around a long time. I think Murphy's done really well, actually. But it's his finishing that really lets him down, especially one-on-ones. That's why Joe Linton scored against Norwich, because he knew that Murphy would miss. And I think he just knew that ball would fall to him. But he's come leaps and bounds since he's had his loan spells and he's come back. But he's not going to be up to standard to where we, I think, as a club want to be next season.
Yeah. No, I agree.
there's one player, whether we believe transfers or not at the moment, but there's one player that we've been linked with for the last few days that could potentially come into that position and take out Murphy and Miggy. I'll ask you boys the question: would you take Ismail Assar?
Yes.
Good question, Pete, because I was going to keep that for later.
Oh,
Because we were linked with them today.
Yeah. Was there one there? There was. I think somebody said, could we do a swap Hayden for?
Yeah.
Put Harden as a part exchange for Sarr, which would get Hayden back down to a London club and maybe in the league where he's going to get some games. It's not a bad shout out. Whoever put it up, I did see it in the chat, but that's not a bad call. I'd take him. I think he's a class player.
I'd take him as well. Definitely swap if we can.
Yeah.
Then
I'd take him, but the one question mark I'd have up with him is what's his temperament like?
Can't be any worse than Chris Woods.
Linked to Liverpool, wasn't he there last summer? And there was, I think, in the away days with the Watford supporters, they talked about that as well. And at that time, I remember them talking about, okay, Watford will cash in and they'll look for something like 80 million or something like that. Crazy thing. Now he had an injury, and it's not going to be anything like that. That kind of figure. He hasn't done great this season, but I'd definitely take him. And he's only 24, I think.
He was linked to Liverpool because he's obviously the same nationality as Mane, and Mane's kind of been he's been looking after him since he's been in England. I don't know if you saw that fight, like it's quite popular kind of video that was out there after they played Watford at Anfield, and he kind of like meets up with Ismail Assar after the game, and he says to one of the Watford boys, look after him because he's only a young lad coming into Watford. He's an immense talent. Yeah, interesting. You mentioned it. Was it about Ismail Assar you were mentioning, Rich, about his temperament, about his attitude?
Yeah, because I think he's got all the ability in the world. I think one of the things that we've looked at with the people that we've recruited in January and we're looking forward to going to is we don't want any like prima donnas anymore. We need people that are all going to be pulling on the rowing the boat the same direction sort of thing, and working as a team, and you just. You get. I sometimes when I've watched him before in the past, I don't know whether he's had that little bit of ego about him. That perhaps he's too big for Watford or something. And it's just, I just don't. That's my only doubt about him. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I'd have to, unless you can actually go and speak to the lad himself and people that know him and stuff. Like you can never judge that from like where we're sitting. You know what I mean? We can judge what he does on the pitch, and what he does on the pitch has been great, and that would be fantastic going forward. You know what I mean? But it's just that's the only little doubt for me is. What's his temperament like and his personality going forward? That'll be it.
What about Pulisic?
Pulisic.
I tell you what, if Jimmy's in the chat right now, Jimmy will.
Jimmy's been.
He'll be going mental. Probably being from America, but Pulisic. The only thing is his injury record.
Yeah. But the thing is, what happens if Chelsea, if the worst happened to Chelsea, which let's face it, lads, is a possibility here. They are really under threat of going out of business if they don't get this sorted. I think they've got by the end of this month. If nothing's done, they're gone.
There was something in the on Talk Sport today, Paul, about they've got until June the 6th, I believe, because. Right. That's when all the Premier League shareholders sit down for the next meeting.
It was about a month, wasn't it? So it's going to be very interesting because they've had another rejection today. And what happens to their players? Do they just go all on, open market?
The door.
Yeah.
If it crashes, it does. Yeah. The thing is, if you got Abramovich wanting his 1.6 million back, that complicates it. It's embarrassing for the government. The guys on Steve Race, the Amigos chatted about this. Mitch chatted about it on the show the other night. Mm-hmm. There might be players there, but where's the next 30 million for wages coming up next month?
Exactly.
So, there's nothing coming in. If Abramovich decides he wants to hang on from the 1.6, that sale's not going to be quick. So that June the 6th could come up very, very quickly around them. Yep. And it ain't going to look good, but...
God, you could do a show just on Chelsea alone. Look at their whole couple of squads they have, really, and go, who are you having?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll throw one out there. Lukaku.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Sitting on the bench for so long.
there was talk, and the reason why I say Lukaku is because there was talk a couple of days ago that Chelsea would consider a 50 or 55 million bid in order to get him out of the club because they want him gone. Now, whether he'd want to come to us or not is a different matter because, he would certainly be looking for Champions League football. However, if he was interested in the move to Newcastle, how would you boys feel about Lukaku to Newcastle United?
Definitely, I take him. I know you have to.
Yeah,
you turn down Lukaku, and I think I'd start revising my 8th position next season upwards if we're getting players like Lukaku in.
Right. See, I don't know. Lukaku. I have to question his attitude right now. Not from when he was in Inter Milan, he did superbly well. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know where his head's at the minute. And is he still got that hunger in him? Or is he just homesick? Well, not homesick, but to go back to Milan. Is he desperate to go back there? I just don't know where his head's at. That's the problem.
He did the interview saying he never really wanted to leave Inter Milan, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And that was around the same sort of time he had, his form dipped and stuff like that, and he was out the team. He had to make the apology to Tuchel and the rest of the playing staff, stuff like that, the fans. So you don't know if it's just been the case where he's just doesn't feel wanted there anymore. And he just feels like a bit part player. That could be the reason why he's formed it. But at the same time, you've also got to look at who's setting an interview up with an Italian journalist talk about not leaving Inter Milan. You've got to look at his backroom, his support staff, and his agent and stuff to set that up as well. So you'd like to think that if Newcastle were to go for Lukaku, he came in, you'd like to think that someone would have serious words with him and say, look, you need to seriously think about what you're saying and what you're doing, and and you'd like to think Eddie Howe, he's got a lot of the best out of a lot of players who we thought were on the way out at Newcastle, and he's turned them around. Is that you'd like to think he could do that with someone who's a world class player like Lukaku as well? So, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be an enjoyable summer no matter what.
If he wanted to come, I'd definitely take him.
I wouldn't take him. I think he's disruptive in the dressing room, and I think when the head's down, I think his attitude sucks. Despite the money he's getting and everything else. So for me, no, I wouldn't. Great goal scorer, but I wouldn't take him. I don't think we need somebody like him in our dressing room. I don't.
Paul, Martin, there's lots in the chat that have agreed with you. Tangy's put a question in there. He said about Tammy Abrahams. Chelsea actually sold Tammy Abrahams to Roma, so he's not part of their. He's not an asset of them anymore. However, the one thing I'll say, I don't necessarily think it's about attitude with Lukaku. In my opinion, I think Lukaku is a clutch. Is the same as a clutch of players, strikers in particular, that have to have a team molded around them. Harry Kane's the same. I always go back to when we missed out on Darren Bent years ago under Sir Bobby Robson, and he ended up going to. I think he went to Charlton and tore it up at Charlton, scored goals for fun. The team was built around him. Went to Tottenham, failed because they had 4 strikers. He's one of those players. Lukaku was fantastic at West Brom because the team was built around him. Even better at Everton, the team was built around him. Went back to Chelsea, did nothing. Why? Because they've got superstars. Went to Man United, wasn't successful. Why? Because they've got superstars. Went to Inter Milan, the team was built around him. Ended up winning Serie A, the Scudetto. Then come back to Chelsea, where they've got superstars again, not successful. With our current squad and the way in which we're building, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to get a couple of years out of Lukaku at 30, get him to 32, scoring goals, building a team around him, and then going, you know what, thanks for your service, let's move on. Let's get somebody else. If we have the opportunity to do it. Personally, I think it's Champions League football, but I think it's more of he needs to feel like he's the main man. A little bit like our left winger that we might talk about at some point, that needs to feel like he's the main man in order to feel like he's part of something and to build his confidence. And I think his confidence, Lukaku in particular, is shot at the moment because he's not the main man at Chelsea. And Thomas Tuchel never builds a team like that. That's around one player. It's a very fluid system.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think he won't come to us anyway. So, but let's go to.
So all that 20 minutes was for now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do, Paul. That's what we do. Let's look at the loan players we put in the loan category then. So let me just read them all out, and you can comment then. So Matty Longstaff, Elliot Anderson, Freddie Woodman. What would you do with those three?
Ooh.
I'd sell Longstaff and Woodman, and definitely keep Elliot Anderson, loan him out to a championship club next season. I don't see Matty having a. It's like Sean, you know. Matty's. I don't think Matty's going to get anywhere near the first team again, and probably won't. You know, if we're going to build with what we want as quality world class players, if you like, is Matty Longstaff going to fit into that? I don't think he is. It's a shame because I think Matty's got a bit more potential than what Sean's shown at the minute, but I just can't see it. I can't see it. And as for Woodman, he went on loan to Bournemouth and he's had a disaster down there. He's on the bench. He's not even in the starting lineup now. So again, if you're looking at goalkeepers, I think that it's an area where we're probably going to improve with quality and probably international level as well. So where does that leave Woodman? Because he'll want first team football as well. So, you know, but Elliot Anderson's different kettle of fish. I mean, I think he's fantastic and he's got a big future. And hopefully we hang on to him and maybe just step that level up for him next season in the championship.
Actually, linked into what Paul said there, because we had that discussion, we talked about Luton Town. Is it Luton that he's at, or where is he?
No, he's at Bristol Rovers.
Rovers, yeah.
Rovers. Okay, that was it. Again, I mixed them up. Yeah. So we said if they got promoted, that we consider him staying with them for say up till Christmas and then going somewhere else. Is that still? I haven't been following Bristol Rovers, so anyone know how they're doing?
Yeah, they're in the playoffs.
In the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah,
so
and the reason we were saying it, Paul, is because Martin is because you're right. I think it would be interesting for them to step up to the championship, but then on the other hand, as we've seen with some of the loan deals we've made, you know, players fall out of favour. Freddie Woodman, as you rightly said, Paul, the prime example, and under the tutelage of Joey Barton, who absolutely adores him. And the Bristol Rovers fans think he's fantastic.
They call him the Geordie Maradona down there, you know.
They do, yeah.
They love him.
Hell of a nickname together, isn't it? I mean, God, if that's not singing your prayers, I don't know what is.
Yeah. No, and we were saying maybe give him another few months, maybe till January. You know, because if he's getting his regular game time, he's learning his football, and okay, he's going to be stepping up to League One, and we'd like to see him in the Championship. But it'd be interesting to see how he fares at League One, knowing that he's got a manager who believes in him and a fan base who absolutely adore him.
Yeah, I think you look at the last few games as well. He's been scoring for fun. I think he's something like 8 or 9 goals and 6 assists or something crazy. Anyway, like he's
flying.
He's involved in every game. But yeah, I mean, listen, out of the 3 of them, I'd get rid of the other 2. I think, you know, I agree with Paul. I don't see Longstaff getting anywhere back near the team. You know, he's not going to play 23s or anything else. So I think, look, he needs to go off and get his football elsewhere. But I think Anderson's got something special. The couple of times I've seen him come on, I think he's got the potential, and I think we've been too guilty as a club getting rid of players with that potential. And, you know, you look at an Ivan Toney that, you know, we didn't invest that potential into. We let him go, and the player that he is now. So, yeah, I'd let him go back to Bristol Rovers and leave him with Joey for another season and let him develop and see where he gets to. But the other 2, they can get on the same boat as Jamal.
So that answers my next question. So you're putting Jamal on that boat, and is there anyone else? Because I want to throw another name in, and I know Pete, you're dying to talk this topic as well. ASM. Would he get anywhere near that boat, or are you going to keep him at St. James's? Martin and Paul.
I'm just waiting for Martin. I've got my popcorn ready for this one.
Oddly, we were talking off air before we came on and before you joined, Paul, myself, Pete, and Daz. Daz, come on now.
Go on, Martin. Go on.
I'm still not convinced by ASM. I'm sorry for all the haters who are going to bitch at me, but I'm not convinced.
This ASM.
Here's the issue I have. Okay. He's still way too inconsistent for me. He's still not pushing it in that final third. Pete made a really good point to try and sell it, which was he plays better on the right, despite he doesn't want to play on the right. He's better coming in off the left foot. I get all of that. My worry is that if Eddie Howe cannot get the best out of Saint-Maximin, who is going to? And the second piece to that is, yes, he was the player he was in the French league, but why has no other top European club gone for him? There's something that doesn't click. And I don't know if it's attitude. I don't know if it's the bit of laziness. I don't know, is it just, the Frenchness in him? In that that's just, that's the listen. I'm not trying to kick the guy, but I want more from him. I've seen people say,
Martin, what did you mean by Frenchness? I mean, that's going to, for all the French people watching, are going to wonder what the hell you mean by that.
Subscribers are dropping.
Yeah, no. Listen, it was to a degree. You had the same in Ginola. You had games he turned it on. You had games he didn't turn it on. But he was way more consistent, and he could finish a goal. And I think that was a big difference. If we're going to play him on the right, where does he fit into the team? If we bring more people in, where does he fit to it? Do you build the team around him? People are saying we need to build the team around ASM. I'm sorry, I disagree. We need to build the team around people like Bruno. I would be more inclined to build around Bruno. For me, we'll get to the end of the season. I'd go another 6 months with ASM. If he's not where he needs to be, I'm sorry, lads, but I would sell him on. And I know that's going to suck with a lot of other people. And some it won't. I've seen plenty on Twitter saying exactly the same as me. Frenchness is trending. Good. Perfect. We should all be filled with a bit of Frenchness in our own inevitable ways. So yeah, I'm not convinced. I think Pete is more in love with ASM than I am. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm just saying I'm not seeing the end result. And we're kind of 2 seasons in. Just my opinion, boys. Sorry, but
I don't know about being in love with him. I think he's.
You know what I mean? I don't. Yeah, put me on the big screen now.
No,
you know what I mean, though. Like not as in that, but as in I think you're more in favor of giving him. You still believe there's something there.
Yeah. So for me,
that's what I mean.
For me, and look, we had this conversation beforehand. I maintain that I was disappointed that he started that game on Saturday because I don't think he was right for the setup of the team. I think Wood should have started. I think he should have played on the left or not played at all. I think ASM has got a year. He's got a year. He's got a year to show himself. Next season, he's got a year to show himself that if he can improve his levels, if he can improve his assists and his goals, which he has this season, his return this season is better than any other at Newcastle. If he can improve that and make that progress with his goals and his assists, I think that he, as a player, will have a future at Newcastle United. But he's got to be more consistent. I don't think he's played well since he came back from his injury, in my opinion. I don't think he's had a good game. I think he's had good moments. I think the Norwich game was perfectly primed for him to score a couple of goals and tear them apart, and he didn't. And that worried me a little bit. But I think it's not down to his ability. I think he's making better decisions with giving the ball at the right time. He's going out of his way to do that. But I just think his confidence levels are so low right now. And I think that's because he's looking around and the Newcastle United fans are not just chanting for ASM anymore. They're chanting for Trippier. They're chanting for Joe Linton. They're chanting for Bruno G more than anybody else. And there's an ego issue with ASM at the moment that I think he's struggling with at the moment. let's face it, since he's come into the club, he's been the main man. He's been the main man, and he's kind of been the one that Newcastle United fans look to as the Messiah, the saviour. For me, he's not that guy at the moment. And we've got other players. We haven't even had Trippier and Wilson back. They are loved just as much, if not more, than ASM. And I think he's really struggling with that at the moment. And I think the fans in the Gallagher acknowledging ASM when he's had his down moments is giving him a bit of a boost. But it can't last forever. And Martin, you're absolutely right. It cannot last forever. My other issue is that Eddie Howe, I think, like that formation and that setup and that team on Saturday against Liverpool, it might have been a play on tactics and a play on positions. That's fine. But I saw that as Eddie Howe trying to fit in ASM wherever he possibly could. I don't think that's the right thing for Eddie Howe or for Newcastle United. I think at some point, Eddie Howe has to say, right, if it's not the right system, then ASM doesn't play. And he plays a team that is better set up in order to win the football match against whatever team it is. We know Eddie Howe sets up his team game by game. And there might be games where ASM doesn't start. And Martin, you alluded to it before we came on. We talked about him coming on at 60, 70 minutes and being an impact player and coming on and affecting the game. And maybe there'll be games next season that Eddie Howe looks at, and I think he should look at and say, right, you're not right to start this game because we need to set up and play a certain way. However, bring you on at 60, 70 minutes and do your thing and try and bring us a moment of magic that either sets up a goal or scores a goal to win the game. And that's the thing that I think Eddie Howe has to tussle with. He loves ASM. You can tell in the way he speaks. But it comes a point where you love a player, but is he right for the team and for the setup that's going to win the game for Newcastle United? And at some point, you've got to look at the club and the results ahead of a player. And that's my biggest thing that I think ASM has to put right in the next year, because if he doesn't put it right in the next year, with only, I think, a couple of 2 or 3 years left on his contract, it's the perfect time next summer, 2023, for Newcastle to cash in.
Yeah,
Pete,
exactly.
we've had oh, sorry, Rich. I was just going to say we've had an interesting comment there from Yano. And I want to ask Pete this question, but I also want to do it with Van Robin, because I think it's a really interesting question, especially given loan deals that we've made in the past. Kennedy springing to mind straight away. Yano asks, if ASM was currently on loan to us with the option to buy, I, for one, wouldn't be looking to buy him based on his performances this season, and Eddie Howe sure as shit hasn't improved him. Now, thinking back to the first game of the season and looking at it now, and let's say there's an option to buy for 30, 40 million. Would you buy ASM based on the whole season? And try not to remember last season, but seeing the glimpses that we've seen and the fact that he is a game changer and he can win us a football match on his own. Based on what you've seen this season for the last 35 games, would you be signing ASM at the end of the season?
Do you know, Chris? I'm going to a point on that straight away. I believe you would see a different ASM if he was on loan trying to get him moved to Newcastle than if he was already here, which he is now. I think he'd actually want to be playing to be a part of this project going forward. However, I think he's been established for the last 2 to 3 years as being the main man, and he's, as Pete already alluded to, he's had his confidence knocked. Do you know what I mean? If you go, I think we touched on it the other night. If you go back to that first game of the season against West Ham, in the first few minutes, he skipped down that right-hand side where we were talked about before about him. He'd be ideal on that right-hand side. Get past his man. He's got the pace to get a ball in quickly like he did. And you've got people like Wilson who are in and around the box to get on the end of them. That's the sort of person we need. When he goes on the left, we've talked about this umpteen times especially since January. ASM's become predictable, and he does it at least 2 or 3 times every game. And I brought the question up the other day on the other show, but he goes down, he gets the ball.
Man City scored!
Mahrez.
What a finish that was, guys.
Mahrez is so good.
That was a beautiful finish, that. Wow.
I tell you what, I'd love to break the bank for him, I would
Richie,
love
hold
to
your point, because you're making a really good point there. You're making a really good point, so hold that point.
Hold that point.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you a
How
rundown
good's
here
Riyad
now.
Mahrez, though? How good is Riyad Mahrez?
So 1-0 City. Now
was
5-3 on
a
aggregate.
shot. That was absolute quality. I think that's tie over now. I can't see Madrid getting back into this.
I just love watching Man.
Yeah, Bernardo Silva's running into the box, cuts it to the right.
I tell you what,
Mahrez,
the other thing with that play is, let it not be understated, the way that Gabriel Jesus pulls the defender completely towards him and leaves a massive gap.
Well, I think
that's done better there.
I think he should have done better there as well.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a pace beat him, but it was whipped in, wasn't it? But
it's a great finish to keep it down. 1-0 Man City, 5-3 on aggregate.
For a late conversation, throw Gabriel Jesus into the mix, because with Haaland coming in, he could be leaving the club.
Well, I was going to ask you guys. I was going to ask you guys before about that, whether you fancied when you run about Lukaku. I said, well,
I would take Jesus over Lukaku 100 times over.
Hold that. We'll come back to it, because
go back to Richie.
Finish off his point.
Go on, Richie.
What we're going to say.
It's all right. I was enjoying the conversation. I can't see the TV, so I was enjoying that. No, what I was saying is, he's been predictable so many times this season, where he's been cutting in from the left, trying to get a shot with it, but he hasn't been. Prime example, like you just talked about Mahrez. Mahrez likes to cut in from the right hand side, but he's always got something where he's testing the keeper. He's got a cute little ball to play someone do. He's got an end product.
His and the problem with ASM, massive.
Yeah, and it's like I had a conversation with Brian Mintner. He was at the game with us the other day, and we were talking about ASM, and we were saying about the amount of time he cuts in. Bear in mind, this is their job. This is what they do for a living. And if you're playing that attacking third, you should be working on what your end product should be. And a big part of that is scoring goals or getting shots on target. And the amount of times that he cuts in, and he's I don't know whether it's because he's running too fast with the ball and he can't get a proper connection, scuffs it, or he's just a poor at shooting, and the odd goal he does scores just as a fluke. I don't know, but I think that I've said this all season. I believe he's got 12 months at Newcastle to prove himself.
Richie, do you watch him in the warm up, Richie? When they're doing the warm up, and at the end of the warm up, they're giving that 1-2 pass, and then they're doing the finishing before they go off. If you watch him in the warm up, he's absolutely brilliant every time. Top corner, bottom corner, it's in the net. But when it comes to a game, like you say, when he's running with it, he can't seem to shoot the ball. When he's actually running, if you look at the Man United goal, he kind of mishit that as well. Remember, when he scored against Man United, it wasn't a clean hit. It seems to me when he's running with the ball, he struggles to shoot, and it's bizarre. But you're right.
Yeah. No, I'd be happy to have, as we've all said, I'd be happy to put him back on the right hand side, get past the full back, and put the ball in. A bit like what we always say a typical winger should do. And I think this is what I was, the other issue that we've had with ASM is every time he's lost the ball or something's you see him on his feet or complaining or whatever and stuff like that. And the way that Newcastle and Eddie Howe want to play from the front is you press from the front. And what you tend to have is you have Wood covering over for ASM. You've got Fraser when he's been in Miggy beat when they've been covering in Murphy as well. They've been running the bollocks off when they've been put in the press when we're trying to move from the front. But your problem is with ASM, you've got a half-hearted press. Even when he's been played, and I think sometimes he's played him in the middle just so he can occupy those two. So, moving Joe Layton onto the left or whatever is try to equal out the press so we don't get done on one side and help Matt Target out against a better team and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's a way of thinking on that as well. But I just think, that's one of the reasons why we were talking about Ismail Shah before as well. If you've got another player coming with a sort of temperament that the ASM's got, who's going to whinge if you lose the ball and get up slowly, and you're getting counter attacked yourself, or you want someone who's going to be doing like Ryan Fraser has been. Ryan Fraser has been fantastic this season since Eddie House had a hold of him. Every time when he's played on the left or on the right, he's gone on his job. He's trying to get past man. He's trying to put balls in the box. He's trying to get a shot away if he had the opportunity. But he works when he hasn't got the ball as well. We're at that level now where we can't afford to have passengers, and at the moment, I think especially defensively, we're carrying, ASM defensively, and I think going forward at the moment, don't get me wrong, I love the guy, and I've always loved the French Maverick, But that final third at the minute, the Crystal
Someone
Palace
likes the
game,
French.
yeah, French.
Hey,
But no, like if you look at the Palace game, I did give him his dues. In the Palace game, he did try a bit more with that laying the ball to someone else, get someone else involved, and not try to take it on himself. And I did give him an acknowledgement and praise for that. We just need to see it more often. He needs to get up a bit, raise his head in that final third and realise that. I think Newcastle fans would appreciate him more, being more of a team player, and I think that's the way he needs to realize. He's not that lone star maverick superstar that he thinks he needs to be. He's got to realise now that he needs to be a team player, and that's how it's going to be for every single person if they want to be on this project.
Yeah. But if you look at overall games, and let's say we play 42 games in a season, whatever it happens to be, right? 41, 42, 40. What percentage of games is acceptable from a star player of his quality to be underperforming in? Because if you take the 40 games, how many does he actually perform the way you want him to with all the bells and whistles in comparison to the games? Because if you looked at it as a percentage, his performance levels are piss poor.
And he's got a Ballon d'Or to win.
If he was playing 75% to 80% top notch every single season out of those 40 games, I think fans would be more lean with him, because no one's going to be perfect every single game.
Absolutely.
But the way you're playing at the minute, he's having a good game. Every 1 in every 4. So you're probably looking at 25% of games he's effective in at the minute. People know what he's going to do on the ball now, so he's not being effective even when he's got the ball.
Can I just ask you guys, where do you stand on this? A lot of people say, "Oh, let's just wait and see how he does with better players around him." Do you subscribe to that? Because I'm not so sure I do.
I would say if he's a player of star quality, right, and you go back to the point that some people are saying the club need to build the team around him, which I think is wrong. I still think it should be Bruno. But if you look at him as the star man, he's not for me. He doesn't. I've watched games this season where I've looked at it and I've gone, he doesn't even stand out.
Yeah.
And to put him on a pitch where we've said, should he start? Should he come on from 60 minutes? We both think he should be a player that comes on from the bench, and he's a player that can maybe change a game for you. He's not a starter, I don't believe.
Like the Burnley game last season, Martin. Like the Burnley game last season when we were 1-0 down, he came on.
Second season syndrome is exactly where he's at. He come into the Premier League last season. No defender had a fucking clue what he was doing. We didn't have a clue what he was doing. I don't think Bruce and Eddie Howe had a clue. He didn't have a clue. Exactly.
This is third
year, Martin.
Yeah, okay. So he gets found out. As you said, you can't keep doing the same thing, cutting in from the left, trying to play the same ball. It doesn't work. A lot of teams,
you're right. He has been worked out, because when he, and that's why I think a lot of these players of the opposition teams, if you notice, they don't dive in on him when he's cutting across. They stand slightly off him.
They back off him.
Because they know what he's going to do, and obviously they give the goalie a clear view of when he's going to shoot, and it's a problem with his. I think Richie's right. It's a problem when he's running at speed. He hasn't got the ability at the moment to hit that shot while he's running at speed, which he should be in theory working on in training to improve every week. He should be. If he's not doing that during Eddie Howe's practices, stay back half an hour, practice cutting across and hitting it. But there was once last week against Liverpool, he did it, and look at it. It was like he hit it with a flipper. It just trickled. It was miles wide.
I think everybody is saying roughly the same thing. Like the comments, there's not too many people in the comments from what I've seen saying, yeah, absolutely, the guy's the star. We need to build around him. A lot of people are saying exactly the same as we are. He's too inconsistent. Final third needs to change. He shouldn't be starting the game.
But one thing I've noticed
I think we need to make a decision.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is where I sit in the Leazers, there is a lot of fans getting very, very frustrated with him now. When he's when things aren't coming off, he's trying to, when the simple passes on to lay it back to Matt Target and whip a cross in, he then decides to ignore him and try and get past the three men that are in front of him. It's not going to happen. It really isn't. And the fans are clicking onto this now that I heard one the other day shouting one trick pony at him because, those step overs against Palace, I mean, that was just a joke. I thought, was I watching Michael Jackson? Was I watching a footballer? Away. What the hell? I just, the guy's an enigma.
It's that Frenchness.
He will always. It is the Frenchness. Hashtag Frenchness.
Hashtag Frenchness. Get that trending, lads.
It's already trending, Martin. You know what
Happy
it is? I just think he's always going to divide opinion. But it's a frustrated opinion. It's not all a positive. It's very much a frustrated opinion on Maxi of where he could get better. But
I think the comment there is, though, there's a few people saying the same thing. If we get to a point and we want to build the team and we want to get to the next levels, at some stage, ASM is not a luxury we can carry.
No, he's not. No.
End of.
I'll tell you what,
can I ask you this? Oh, sorry, Rich. Just a quick one. And I've not seen this come up before. That's why I wanted to ask it. It's a great comment from Dunhill. Is ASM missing Wilson?
I don't think he is.
No one's really factored that in, though, have they?
I don't think he is, because if you look to where Wilson played, if you watch the games, Callum Wilson makes so many good runs, and Maxi doesn't give him the ball. And so many times, Callum Wilson has turned around in utter fury and shouted at him because he's not getting the ball when he's making brilliant runs, and Maxi's not playing him in. Now, this puts me onto talking about would he be better with better players around him. I'm not so sure he would, because he's not picking those runs out that Callum Wilson's making. And if Callum Wilson's making them runs, you're damn sure that international class players are going to be making even better runs or the same kind of runs. And they're just going to get frustrated because the ball's not coming to them.
Yeah. I think that just goes on. Just goes on to what, like, before we move on to our topic. It was I can't remember who was on the show after the Leicester game. I think me and Daz were. Chris, were you on the Leicester review or not?
I don't think I was.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, it was the three of us.
I wasn't.
Yeah, you were. I came on with the bunny ears.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. What I'll do is I'll ask this question.
The ears give it away.
I'll ask this question to Pete, Martin, and Paul. And I had a conversation before the Crystal Palace game with Steve Hasty, and we were talking about ASM, and it was a really good talking point. So I want to get your points of view on this. It's the 94th minute against Leicester, right? And we replaced Joe Willock with ASM on that left-hand wing, right? Do we get the winning goal or not?
No, we don't.
No,
we don't, because the way in which Joe Willock carries the ball.
Holy hell!
He puts in. I personally don't think we get that goal. Because I think when the way in which Joe Willock carries the ball, he carries the ball kind of right into the box before he actually puts the cross in. I think as ASM gets to the 18-yard box, he then tries to cut in on his right-hand side and has a shot.
Glory.
City should have scored again.
It should be 2-0.
No.
City are dominating.
It should be 3-0. They should have scored beforehand. And Grealish has literally just skimmed the post.
Wow.
I agree with what you're saying there, Pete.
It's a save. It's a save.
ASM would go take the glory run there and have a shot.
Yeah, he would. Yeah. And that's the difference. Like, you guys just made the point a minute ago about his lack of productivity when he cuts onto his right and he gets a shot in. Paul talked about how the ball just trickles to the goalkeeper. And that's been the same. I noticed it. We noticed it at the Leicester game. He had 2 or 3 chances where the ball just trickles to the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper doesn't have to even dive to make the save. Whereas if you go back to, and yes, it was against Oxford in the FA Cup replay, where he cuts in onto his right in extra time and smashes the ball into the top corner. That's what I expect from ASM. If ASM is going to stay a Newcastle United player, when he cuts in onto his right-hand side, he needs to not just hit the target, but he needs to make the goalkeeper work, and he needs to score more goals off the back of it. Otherwise, his game disappears. Because it's all right him doing, as Paul said, the little step-overs against Crystal Palace where nobody's trying to tackle him. It's okay doing that.
Little step-overs, he did it. It was 5 minutes, Pete.
Yeah.
It was 5 minute dance show.
it looks good for the cameras and it looks good for the memes and the different things that we'll put out afterwards. But actually, there's no productivity in it. Nothing came from it. There wasn't a chance created off the back of it. It was just a moment. And you don't want ASM to be just a moment. You want him to be efficient in the way in which he plays. So he needs to improve on that point. And going back to the point, Joe Willock is more of a less selfish player, and that he plays for the team. And that run and that attempted cross into the box that Bruno gets on the end of, that's what a striker needs. You asked the question, Chris, and it's a good point about, does ASM miss Callum Wilson? I don't think Callum Wilson would miss ASM when Callum Wilson comes back into the team.
That's the point.
I think he's going to want a winger that where if a winger's running down the wing on the left or right hand side, and the winger is someone that's more direct and is a better crosser of the ball, because ASM isn't a great crosser of the ball. And Callum Wilson's going to lap up more opportunities. He's going to have more opportunities on goal, more opportunities to score. He'd prefer a lot more someone like a Ryan Fraser, who he knows
I was
is going
just
to
going to say exactly the same thing. I bet you he would prefer a Fraser over an ASM every single game.
Yeah,
a striker would. You go back to the conversation.
And he has in the past.
Goal!
Real
Madrid. Rodrigo's just scored to put it level on the night. 1-1, 4-5 on aggregate to Man City with 89 minutes played.
Not over. Just the point I was making. You go back to Alan Shearer having it out with David Ginola. You go back to the conversation where Alan Shearer had it out with Laurent Robert to be more direct, to get the ball into the box so I can get on the end of it and I can score the goals, right?
Nobby Solano, Keith Gillespie. Do you just get it in?
Yeah, exactly. They'd be exactly the same. Callum Wilson would be exactly the same. Chris Wood would be exactly the same. You know what? Both strikers will score more goals off the back of it.
Yeah, but the thing with that, if you Chris, you make a really good point. If you take Keith Gillespie as a prime example, you look at the 3 goals that Tino got against Barcelona. He didn't beat the defender on the left or the right once. He got 5 yards in front of him and played the ball around him, and we got 3 goals from it. So you don't have to beat, ASM doesn't have to beat the defender every single time to whip a decent ball in. Yeah. Ryan Fraser doesn't beat every single defender to whip a decent ball in.
Yep.
You don't have to.
Well, look at what Vichy said, Matt, at the start of the comment. Wow!
Oh my God!
Madrid have leveled it,
and there's 6 minutes of injury time to be played, and it's 2-1 Madrid, 5-5,
5-5, is it?
Would you believe it?
5-5 on aggregate.
Pep looks.
Madrid scored 2 goals in 60 seconds.
Wow!
Vinicius.
Vinny Jr.
What a header that was, by the way.
He's becoming a player, he is.
What a header.
Really
Ball on the edge. I think it's Militao who lays it off.
What a cross.
Who's put that in? Nacho. Oh, what a header. Oh, Carvajal puts it in. Oh, what a header. No, it was Rodrigo.
Yeah.
What a header.
Wow. City have just lost the plot here. Should have been home and dry. Should have been 3-0 up.
It's exactly what happened to Chelsea in the last round.
Yeah. No, Rich, I was saying before, you made a cracking point about ASM. And, when we saw him, he cut in on one side, cut in on the other side, and then he just whipped the ball straight in. Wilson, poacher, bang. And that's what he needs to do more often. And unfortunately, we don't see it, do we?
Do you know what? If he did that every single week, Newcastle fans would love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's go to this next topic. We'll move away from this because I know everyone is.
Real nearly scored again.
It's a corner.
Corner.
My God.
A bottle in
6 minutes injury time.
4 of us are watching the game. 2 of us are continuing the show. Richie, how are you?
It's a great game.
I'm all right, man. Yeah.
Richie, you will be glad to hear the next topic will go on to I corrected the table. I got the data correct after that. And it's on the relegation battle and who is going down. So, Richie, I'm going to go to you first while the lads are watching the match. I'll go to you and your thoughts. So, here are the fixtures that are remaining for Everton, Burnley, and Leeds. The points total that they currently have, and kind of the order in which the matches happen. You can see the kind of week breakdowns there as well. So, Richie, after we spoke after the reaction show, Everton went and bet Chelsea, so which none of us were expecting. I think, except Keith Roll. Keith Roll is the only one that said 1-0 as well.
To be fair,
So,
give him his dues. He said in the chat, Daz, didn't he? He said in the chat 1-0 Everton. He said it. But I give our hats off to Keith. He did say 1-0. Yeah, exactly. But no, if you put those back up, Daz. You know, like we both said, we both.
City nearly scored.
City
Sorry.
should have scored.
Daz, put them on mute. Put them on mute.
No, I want to know what happens as well.
This is
in the chat. No, if you look, Daz, though, we said the other day about we didn't think Everton were going to get 5 points out of those last fixtures, and that still wouldn't be enough. And they've got 3 out of that surprise win over Chelsea. But if you look,
yeah,
they were poor against Leicester when the salvaged a draw there. Realistically, you think they'll beat Watford. Brentford are a little bit a different kettle of fish. They're decent at the Community Stadium. Palace, you possibly think they might get another 3 points, 4 points at best. And you look at Burnley, Villa are hit and miss. Tottenham, they did Tottenham earlier in the season at Burnley, and obviously Tottenham are a little bit hitty-missy at the minute as well. And obviously we've got us last game of the season, so I'd like to see Newcastle go and finish the season high down there as well. Get a win like we did last season. Leeds, you've got to look at Leeds. There's some hard fixtures there. I know Chelsea haven't been firing all cylinders, but they need to fight for the Champions League place if they're going to be in the Premier League next season. Brighton, they've turned themselves around. They're not on the beach anymore. Brentford will want to finish the season, the Premier League season, good at home. Leeds is really going to, be looking over their shoulder now, big time, I think, because their goal difference is shocking as well. So, realistically, I think Burnley will be safe, and I think it's going to be between Everton and Leeds.
Yeah,
and if I was to push you to pick one, Richie, who's going down?
I'd love Everton to go down. I've said that for a while, but I'd love Everton to go down. But I've got a really bad feeling for Leeds now, unfortunately. And I like Leeds, and that's a shame. It might help us with a couple of the players that we've been rumored at with like people like Rafinha, Calvin Phillips and stuff. So that might be good if they went down, because there's players at Leeds that have over people at Everton. So there you go. I'll say Leeds will go down.
Just to jump in for a second, I've just seen the comment there from Neil Calver. ASM apparently done an article today saying with better players he would get 10 to 15 goals and assists.
He did. He said that.
Wow.
Well, as I said, as we said,
selling out everyone, isn't it?
Daz, as we've just said during the whole show, he's got 12 months to prove it. He's a lot better players around next season.
And that I give him the year the next season to prove it, and if not, I would do sell and then cash out with them. But I'm going to go. Is there much left in the game, lads?
Extra time, lads.
Extra time, yeah. Just on a break now, Daz.
Okay, Grant. So, Chris, I'm going to go to you next because this is a killer in your house. This question, for me, I like when the reaction show, I was saying it's definitely Everton. Now, it's kind of impossible to pick because they're all picking up points, and for Burnley as well, Villa play a key role in their survival because they have to play them twice. But Chris, your thoughts on the remaining games for those in the fighting for that last spot in the championship?
It's funny, Daz, because there's loads of twists and turns, isn't there? And we love to see that, as neutrals now that we're not involved in it, which is great. But yeah, there's been loads of twists and turns, and I must admit, Everton Everton have picked up some really, really like lucky points of late. Obviously, they beat us, didn't they, at Goodison, when really they shouldn't have. They went and beat Man United at Goodison, and then now they've gone and beat Chelsea at Goodison. So there's 9 points straight away, and you think, bloody hell. And then don't forget, they got that last minute equaliser again at Goodison against Leicester. So that's 10 points in the last few games where, you know, they've really given themselves half a chance. But it's funny because Leeds haven't really been spoken about over the past 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. But all of a sudden, looking at those fixtures, I really worry for Leeds now, because I don't think they're going to get anything away to Arsenal. I doubt they'll get anything at home to Chelsea, because Chelsea have got to turn things around sooner rather than later, because I think they've banked on the fact they're going to finish third. But, you know, teams behind them, like Tottenham and Arsenal, are really creeping up on them. So I'm expecting Chelsea to turn it around eventually. They've just lost Stuart Dallas for the rest of the season, who's an integral part of their team. Nasty injury that he got in the last game. I think Burnley, they've picked up 10 points in the last out of the last 12 points possible. They've had a massive upturn in fortune. It's an interesting one, but I would say based on the remaining fixtures and form, I think Leeds are in big trouble. I think Everton, because Everton have got, if you flash that back up, Daz, I think Everton have got 2 very winnable home games from what I remember. So they've got Watford away
and Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I mean, Watford away might have been difficult, but now they've been all but confirmed as relegated. That could be a nice, easy game for them now. Depends on how the players react at Watford. But yeah, Brentford is winnable. Palace is winnable. It'll be a difficult game, don't get me wrong, but I do think, you know, some of the flip-flops could be on by them for Palace. You know, they're going to be mid-table, aren't they, and no higher, no lower. But yeah, I think Everton are going to pick up the most points out of those teams, and I think Burnley will outdo Leeds, which is why I think it'll probably be Leeds.
Leeds for you. Cheers, Chris. And I'm going to go to Paul next, because Paul, you wouldn't have spoken and loaded about this topic before. But who are you having to go down here?
Everton. I swear, honestly, I'm doing a watch along on the last game of the season, and if Everton go down, I swear to God, I will be windmilling on my channel. Because just I hate the way
Don't
the fans
tune into that.
Hey,
that's not one for you for Ultra HD, by the way.
It's definitely not. No. But look, I agree. I think Leeds are in a lot of trouble. I think, you know, if you look at Everton's last few games, the difficult, you never know what, you know, Palace, yeah, they may be on the beach, but you never know what Palace is going to turn up. You never know what Leicester's going to turn up. You know, it's Villa for, I mean, Burnley, if you look at the 2 Villa games, they're the ones that interest me, because I think, you know, where are Villa right now? Where they, you know, are they on the beach already? You know, so Tottenham, are they still going for top 4? So that'll be a difficult game for them. And then us, you know, after the Villa away game. So it's tough for Burnley as well. So as much as it pains me to say, I think, you know, Everton may just survive. And probably Leeds, if I'm honest. I don't want to see Leeds go down, but, you know, the very difficult run-ins for both of them.
Great point.
Fair enough, Paul. Cheers to that. Martin, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, Everton. Don't care about the rest.
Do you think it's going to?
Everton. Yeah, don't care.
Everton
Burnley, don't
yeah.
care. Leeds, don't care. Everton, just want to see them go down. Hate them, hate the fans, hate the club, hate Pickford. Yep. Next.
Yeah, I'll move on with Martin on that, yeah.
Pete,
any chance of Richarlison getting a ban for that throwing the flare back into the crowd thing?
I'm sure he'll get off with it. He'll get off with it, I'm sure.
He'll get a slap wrist, maybe £25,000.
Fine a week's wages, yeah.
Yeah, but which Everton will pay for him, so he won't lose out on anything.
I thought Everton's defence was really funny, the statement they put out. He was trying to throw it out of the ground.
Yeah,
Or is
okay.
he a fucking Major League Baseball pitcher? Is he thrown out the ground from the Gladys Road end? Get out of it.
Bullshit, innit? It's bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit's right.
I thought it was funny on Twitter that there was loads of people showing pictures of people with blue faces and stuff like that they got hit by the flare.
I see
But
that.
anyway, the Smurfs. Pete, any thoughts on who you want to go down and who you think you will go down?
There's only one team that I want to go down. I don't think I've kind of hid the fact that I want Everton to be relegated.
No, you've not kept it a secret, to be fair.
No, definitely not. Look, there's a reason. There's a reason behind it.
Oh, hang on. We've got.
He's given a penalty
It's
to
a
Madrid.
penalty to Madrid.
Wow.
Benzema's been taken out of it.
Okay,
It'll go to VAR.
we'll stick with this. So
Benzema's going to take
go
it.
to
No,
VAR,
he's
right.
gone.
Is it defo a pen, do you reckon?
Hang on. So, from the back line, Madrid come down the right-hand side. Players
It's not
just allowed
off.
to run.
Not
Ball gets crossed in.
It's a pen.
It's a penalty.
It's a pen.
Oh, it's not. No, he gets the ball. Ruben wins the ball. Sorry. Watch.
Such it.
He gets the ball.
Oh, I don't know, Martin. That's tight. That like.
No. Ball first, mate.
hang on.
Ooh.
No, he gets the ball.
Hang on
He
a
wins
sec.
the ball.
I
I think he does. But this is.
I have it
close.
here. I think it's a pen. Let me just see. Yeah, it's a pen.
Yeah, he's given it.
Oh, is Benzema going to go for the old
Does he give it?
Panenka? Yeah,
He's
no,
give
he's
it.
giving
He's
it.
give
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, the Panenka. Imagine he does one of them again.
Holy
I
hell!
think he'll smash this left-hand
City
side.
have bottled this big style, by the way.
Ederson looks sick.
I tell you what,
Yeah,
if Real Madrid go through here, it's got their name on the trophy the way they've got through the quarter-final and semi-final.
Yeah. They've got the luck with them, to be fair. We'll pause while this goes through. Benzema taking it anyway.
I don't think he'll Panenka again. I think
he'll
it-
bury it,
He'll
isn't
smash this left-hand side, I think.
he? Yeah, he'll bury it.
Benzema is just.
Here he goes. Run up,
Here we
Benzema.
go.
Class.
Oh, he just
Oh,
goes
he's
the
away.
side and sends
Wow.
Everton the wrong way.
What a
He's
pen.
world
Goal.
class.
6-5 Madrid, 3-1 on the night.
Wow.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
94 minutes played.
Wow. Let's go back to you,
6-5.
Pete.
What a cup tie.
and what we're all here for.
That's one for you there, Paul.
Yeah. But Benzema, well, first and foremost, Benzema is world class. World class. So good. Go back to the point.
So you take
Everton went down. They've given us so much stick over the years for our relegations and for us being a team that's kind of down there. And they've laughed at us.
Mm.
And for me, I want them to go down because I think they're a shite club, in my opinion. I think they're a shite club. They spent £500 million and are worse off for it. They deserve to get relegated off the back of that. However, if Leeds went down, I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world. And Chris will like this, if we went and put in 50-60 million and brought Rafinha into the club and put him on our right hand side.
Jesus.
So I wouldn't be against Leeds going down for that basis. If you ask me who I would want out of Phillips and Rafinha, there's no contest. I'd want Rafinha on our right hand side. There's no doubt about it. And that Brazilian link, the boys know him very, very well. It could be an enticing move to come and join the Brazilian party. So I wouldn't be against that either. Personally, I think Burnley will finish the highest out of the three. But look, if I wanted any club to go down, Everton, without a doubt, because I don't think they'll come back up either.
Cool. Cheers, Pete. And I don't, as I said before, this is for you, Chris, to give you a bit of moral support. I don't have anything against Everton, but I think they're gonna run out of luck. They're on a run, but they're going to run out of luck at some stage. So I think it's going to be Everton that will go down. We're going to wrap it up for the night, lads, because I know the lads want to catch their end of the match, and Richie, me and you might be able to see it as well. But just want to give a shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to the Frenchness is still trending. To blackandwhitearmy.com.
I can't believe he said that.
And to Bronwyn's Bronwyn's brand, and to 1881. Also Bronwyn's brand, and go check that out, the website out, and there you will also find the loaded hat. So let me get the pic of the hat here. You can get it in white, grey, or black. And as I had in the picture earlier, mine arrived today, so I'm not wearing it yet, but I have it here, the hat. So I need a haircut after the abuse I got tonight. So yeah, I'll be wearing that hat then to hide the haircut. But so that's Bronwyn's site. Then we also have a shybarnes.com. And shout out to Simon, and he also does hats, as he told me today. I think it was a hint, Simon, and a massive range collection there, and all lovely T-shirts and we showed before. But go check it out on the website. And Pins and Prints. Check out Pins and Prints and Dean and Pins and Prints, and we've always shown the posters before, and he's always constantly changing them as well. There's some great collection of posters to choose from, and pins as well. And Paul is taking notes. He likes to look at them. That's it from the sponsors. Coming up on the shows this week, of course, we must go to Paul as well, and Paul will tell us what's coming up on his channel this week. But for us, we've got on Thursday, that's tomorrow, I think, we've got away days, and we're with actually, Pete, I'll let you describe this.
Yeah, so we didn't get our away days with Man City before for their game earlier on in the season, but we are back. Another away day, 7:30 with Feed the Goat in homage to Sean Gota. Feed the Goat podcast. So a couple of boys from the podcast will be joining us to talk all things Man City, Newcastle, and there might be some disappointing faces on the pod tomorrow with the way results are going at this moment in time. So yeah, definitely check it out. Really, really good show. Talking all things Newcastle and building up to another big game on Sunday.
Speaking of disappointed faces, come and join us on the reaction show, where it'll be probably myself and Richie, because always when we don't get a result, it's myself and Richie commiserating each other. But hopefully, you never know, there might be a surprise, and then all five of us will be there. But so the reaction show Sunday evening, I think you have the matches on Sunday, so tune in for that one, 8 o'clock. Coming up,
I am still here. My battery's just died.
Oh, sorry, Paul. Yeah, we just one more thing, and then we'll plug.
Are you windmilling,
the
Paul?
Toon review? But coming...
No.
I thought he was going to say not yet.
Give over, will you? Disgrace.
Coming up on the 18th of May, we have Sean Casey back with us. So, like I said, the HB Sauce Man is back. And so tune in for that one. Should be a good one. And yeah, as you've seen today, there's plenty of names being thrown out. As just a handful names being shown, talked about today, and the collection will keep building and building and building. So that's coming up unloaded. Paul, what's coming up on the Toon review this week?
I have Friday night will be the preview for the match. I will do a recorded press conference reaction video. Sunday will be the live watch along, where I just go say stupid things during the commentary. And later on Sunday evening will be the match reaction. And my camera's definitely dead.
So that's why you need to tune into the loaded reaction, but our cameras never die.
That's shitty. That's shitty. Honestly.
No. I want to catch both of them. Catch both of them, and make sure you subscribe to both channels.
The good thing is we know what shows Paul's doing. He's not keeping us in the dark. Oh, apart from myself.
They're all coming out now.
Yeah.
So just to add, obviously, if anyone hasn't already, it's in the chat. Subscribe to Toon Review. Subscribe to that. We've had lots of subscribers today. We are now less than 70 away from that 3,000 mark that we were aiming for. So less than 70 away. Lots of subscribers tonight. So welcome to Load the HQ. Keep subscribing if you haven't already. Click that red button just below on the screen.
Nice one, Pete. That is it. Thanks for everyone for joining us tonight. Thanks for Paul to keeping the light on and keeping us
out of the darkness and into the light.
whatever he's
Join us for that.
Listen,
show.
I've just got in. I'll explain. Hang on, Comb Over. Listen, right?
No, we're going.
Basically,
Bye.
I've got a new camera and I need to purchase one of those dummy batteries that just keeps going. So I haven't bought that yet.
Hang on, Paul. Paul, 1 second. 1 second, Paul. We need to put you on the big screen for this. Go on, talk us through it there again.
You cheeky. Anyway, a new camera, and I need a dummy battery, which will then keep my camera on for the full stream. I've just bought the camera. Well, I've just had the camera donated, and I need to. Susan's joining in again. There's a surprise. Yeah, so I need a dummy battery, but that it's got about a 2-hour battery length at the minute, so it's not too bad. At least I still look better in the dark than you do with that comb over, Daz. Oh, wait, let's be honest.
That's true. That's a fair point.
Okay. We'll leave it there for tonight. We'll be back again to more abuse towards each other. But all seriousness, Paul, thanks a million for joining us. And,
pleasure, loved it.
We must come along to your show as well at some point.
And definitely get across onto the Toon review. Maybe do one-on-one here.
You were going to say get a text. You were going to say
no. Seriously, Daz, if I come face to face with you, the abuse you're going to get is just unbelievable. What I was going to say to the rest of the normal lads on here is maybe do 1 week on yours, 1 week on mine, and we can come up with different topics, which I'm sure we can sort of rumble on behind the scenes with.
Absolutely,
be good.
Sounds like a plan. Evening, Buzz.
Lovely.
He had to go there.
Right, on that note.
Good night.
Good night, everybody, and thanks for joining. Thanks for liking and subscribing and sticking with us. And we will be back during the week. I'm sure tomorrow even. We'll be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
See you later.
See you guys.
See you later.
Okay, guys.
How?
Oh, fuck that shit.
Paul, just checking. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.